What up, though? It's Troy Justice, and this is Imported Athletes and Travel Podcast. I'm joined with my co-host, Yodi Nakamura. And today we have a special guest for you guys. I got my boy, Dean Jacobs, in the chat today. I met him during Finkstonball 2023, and we hit it off. Really cool dude. He was an import in Croatia. He also, I forgot to say, he's from South Africa, and he plays on the South African national team as well. So we're gonna get into the nitty gritty and talk about his experience and what it was like being an import from South Africa. Dean, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, bro.
Of course. You want to tell us like your baseball background, like how did you get into the game, and what your career has been like up to when you became an import player?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not too sure. I think it goes around many of how they started the game, right? So for me, funny story, my cousin got me involved in the game. So my father found out about the game here down in Cape Town, South Africa, and she didn't want to go alone, you know what I mean? Being a female and not knowing about the sports, like, okay, let me grab my cousin Dean and go with me. I ended up going to the training. I didn't attend the training. I sat in the car. There was a little bit of a foul ball in my direction. I got out the car and I threw the ball back. And they're like, "What are you doing in the car?" I'm like, "I just came to watch my cousin play baseball." They're like, "No, I'm joining." I had party like maybe 10 to 15 minutes left of the training session. The coach afterwards asked me what's my name, introduced myself, and they said, "Please go home, tell your parents that you got a game tomorrow." And yeah, that's how it started.
Oh wow!
Much like that.
Well, shout out to your cousin for dragging you to the baseball field. In South Africa, did you play for a specific club or a specific league, or how's this setup work?
Yeah, so no, it's all local based. I mean, so you start like you play. We do. I mean, Cape in South Africa, there's different regions that will put it in like, well, as you will speak about it, there's no overseas, different, uh, cities or continents, or we call it provinces. So there's 9 different provinces within South Africa. So Cape Town, Western Cape, currently hosts the biggest portion of population of basically South Africa. So like currently is kind of the biggest store within the nation in Cape Town, South Africa at the moment. So yeah, you from leagues running from under 10, which will be or even before that, under 16, really like we call it peewees, like these are like your fresh 3, 4-year-old kids just trying to run around and learn the game. And then you go to under 10, and the 10 you start playing keyboard, the key, and then from after the 10 you advance to under 12, and then you get into the lines in situations. There are sort of age groups from under 10 all the way into your senior division. So it will be under 12, under 14, under 16, under 18, and then you'll get your first division promotion league, and then your major league division.
Interesting. All right. Can you guys hear me all right? I'm just concerned because I'm not in like the usual setup. TJ, guess where I am?
Are you in front of the closet that broke? Oh God, you found the Burger King.
So Dean, to give you a background and to give the podcast viewers a little background, Jimmy Jensen, the COO of BBJO, a great friend of ours. We'll get him on the podcast one day. We lost him in Prague in front of a Burger King. This is going to lead to a whole different story, which we will talk about another day. But me and TJ were joking that, dude, I think my new apartment in Prague is right by the Burger King we lost Jimmy at. And yeah, TJ, I'm at this Burger King. This is where we lost Jimmy. The reason why I'm here, the reason why I'm doing this podcast from Burger King is because our apartment doesn't have Wi-Fi yet, and I used up all my hotspot like data stuff, so I gotta live like a caveman for the month. The better place to do an international baseball podcast while seeking Wi-Fi than the Burger King we lost Jimmy at.
Can't make this up, folks. Import life.
Import life, bro. So, Dean, if you don't mind me asking a question regarding, the South African baseball, like when most of us, like international guys, we think about quote unquote winter ball. A lot of us go to Australia, New Zealand. Some guys go like Latin America. But I do know of like a couple people who've slid into like the South African, winter league. You guys in summer. So how does it work for like us, non-South Africans to try to get into that league?
Sport, to be honest with you, it's very local over here. So in regards to, I mean, funding and stuff, that's something that South Africa, will struggle with when it comes to finance in baseball. So for players wanting to come over and play, I mean, unfortunately, but it's going to most likely have to be at the player's own cost. Because I mean, we have 8 major league teams in Cape Town, and there's probably like one team that has a little bit of money that will most likely willing to give some sort of funding, whatever the case may be. But I mean, it's kind of free will. If you're available and you want to come and have experience and play ball in South Africa, it's kind of us just putting you in connection with the right people or whoever's wanting to add players to their rosters. Just reach out to a manager or a coach or a player, and and we put a plan together and make it work. So there's nothing really official. We just say, okay, this is the contract. This is what we have to offer. You know what I mean? That type of thing. So yeah, that's kind of that part of it's still very raw. So yeah, just kind of getting in contact. I think similar to how my opportunity came about of playing abroad. Came about the same way.
Interesting. All right. TJ, you want to go to Africa with me?
I couldn't imagine going to Africa with anybody else, to be honest.
I will say though, like South Africa. Obviously, they were just at that qualifiers in Taiwan a couple of weeks ago. I actually played against Brandon Smith this past weekend. We played Ostrava.
Oh, sweet. Yes. Oh, we teammates back home.
Yeah, and
Brother,
yeah,
Ali
and
Smith.
then okay. I'll tell him we exchange contacts. I'll tell him I talked to you. But I also played with Erasmus Bobby Erasmus. I played with him 3 years ago. Same team in Australia.
Okay, that's good.
Chris Byers, played against him in Germany. Like South Africa, like you guys, not many people think baseball when they hear South Africa, but you guys have some ballers, man, for sure.
No, it's true. I mean, like, I think my experience in Croatia, I mean, I think Troy for himself got that experience when he met me. He's like, what is baseball in Africa? Like, it's mind blowing for most people.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting you to
That's
say
what
that.
I think is so. That's what's pretty cool about this WBC qualifiers, like all this stuff, because like I'm just gonna be very basic and use Czech as an example because that is like the most recent example of like a non-major baseball country who made it to like the big stage. And now they get the exposure, so people start to understand like, oh, like baseball is not just played in these like Power 12 countries; it's actually played all over the place. Obviously, us here being in this international baseball circuit and doing this for a living, like we are aware of like all the countries, like how the competition is. But I guess that's part of our job, and also like part of like the beauty of these international tournaments and these countries coming up. Like baseball's everywhere, man. Like look at this podcast. A guy from South Africa, Japan, USA, one place. Like
Yeah.
Well, the power of the internet and social media, I think, changed a lot.
yeah, for sure, definitely.
Oh man, you should have saw. I'd have sent you the clip when he came back from the qualifier. He was on TV and all over the
Superstar.
internet. Yeah. How'd you end up playing in Croatia, man? How'd that come about?
Wow, that's a crazy story. Again, well, I think the power influence of like the internet and social media, changed the game. Like, so they made contact with me after we were in Germany in 2022 for the World Classics over there. And then, yeah, like early, it was, I think, like later that year, 2022. I just got an inbox from, you know what I mean, a random, like this team. So I'm like, okay, let me read through the message. I'm like, this might be a scam. Let me just put it off for a while. And then I left it for a couple of weeks. Then I got another message and like, hey, you're not interested. I'm like, okay, let me check it out, give him a response and a reply to let's see if this thing is real. And then I'm like, so how did you hear about me? And how did you get it? I'm like, how did you find me on Instagram or anything? Test me be like, oh, no, we watched the World Baseball Classic. We see you there. And another homie from Germany, which is so crazy. I've not met him, but through people talking and, you know, word of mouth, they're like, hey, there's a guy in South Africa. He's been in Germany. We saw him there. He's a pitcher. Contact him, hit him up. He's interested. And then, yeah, they said, yeah, this is what we need from you. You just need to kind of show up. Everything's done. Your flights, accommodation, everything's paid for. You need to back up and show up. So that's kind of what happened. So in the moment, I was like, I don't think this thing is real. Like someone just popping me a DM, like, hey, let's come ball out in Croatia for 3 months. Everything's paid for. I'm like, I must be dreaming. But yeah, everything came through, which I think it was definitely one of the highlights of my career, getting an opportunity like that.
Man, yeah, that was crazy. So, how did your like friends and family react when you told them, "Hey, I'm going to Croatia to play
Yeah.
baseball"?
Yeah, no, I mean, of course, my family was first, so my wife, my two kids. So, I mean, even when I got the message for the first time, I told my wife the message, I'm like, I don't know if this is true. I don't know if I should reply on my phone or Instagram this act. What, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it took me some time. Like, okay, look, we won't know if you don't find out. So just respond. I mean, if it is anything and your phone gets hacked or your Instagram hacked, you just end up starting a new profile. I mean, it didn't get to that. So I'm like, okay, response. He's like, okay, they give it a go ahead and everything is as they say. Then, I mean, I'm going to give you this opportunity because I mean, as a young bowler growing up, I mean, it's always, I mean, it wouldn't be, but it was definitely one of my goals to kind of travel. And then for me to come so late in my, I mean, career in the sense of like age, that also was kind of overwhelming to like, what? Getting a contract, like my first time getting to travel as an individual, like I'm kind of offered a contract. I think that was kind of one of the most overwhelming parts. So everything was new to me with the experience of not traveling with a team. You know what I mean? As going to participate in a tournament because all other opportunities I got to travel overseas was with the national senior side. So this was something completely different. So I mean, my wife, my kids, the whole rest of the family, definitely my biggest support structure. I'm like, this is always something that you wanted to achieve and accomplish, so you're not going to hold it back. But again, in South Africa, I mean, I'm sure you know this, Troy. Like, none of us get paid to play, so all of us have normal day jobs, nine to
hmm
five, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of me getting this opportunity, having go back to my workplace and tell them, hey, I need 3 months leave. So you know what I mean? I don't think any employer is going to give you 3 months leave. So, like how this whole thing came about is become Croatian was kind of incidentally that it happened that way because the first thing was like, how do I approach my wife until 2000? This is a baseball opportunity has nothing to do with me representing South Africa. It's something that I got an opportunity to do on my own. So what do I do in a situation like that? First thing I did was let me check Croatia's time zone. And incidentally, it was spot on the exact same time zone as South Africa. So I'm like, I don't think there can be any other coincidence in this. So
yeah,
it's me going to my workplace. I mean, I've been employed at a company, unfortunately, for a long period of time because they kind of know my baseball journey. So we just sort of having that discussion with him, kind of, it was easy for them to allow me the opportunity. So I kind of went over there, having to still be able to manage and do my job remotely. So while I was there, by Monday to Friday, I was doing my, let's say, South African grind, and then obviously having the opportunity to also play ball.
That's dope. Yeah, when I was telling Yoda, I was like, yeah, we're gonna hop on at 1:00, and he was just like, what time is it there? I'm like, it's also 1:00, if you can believe that.
That's crazy. So Dean, when we were talking about that conversation, about the time zone and stuff, like on our last episode, we kind of really talked about like adapting to a new culture. Like obviously a new country, there's like different stuff like the language barrier or like just how people go about things, people's mentalities. So like compared to what you are used to in South Africa, and then you make this jump over to Croatia, like what were some of like the big differences, I guess, that like you immediately noticed, and like how did you adapt to these changes you had to make?
Yeah, that's what I say. Like for me, it was the first time I experienced traveling abroad on my own. So even that, like leaving here on my own was already kind of overwhelming. I had a little bit of, like anxious. Like I'm getting there. I had just made contact with these guys over Instagram. Like I could show up there and I could just be like nothing could happen. I just end up. I mean, like I got everything was confirmed, flight tickets, whatever the case may be, but it was a long trip. I had like 3 connection flights. And I mean, me arriving there, I think one thing I can say about Croatia, I mean, like people's like very, very friendly, like very accommodating in a way. And I mean, everything was like kind of culture shock for me because I mean, things in South Africa or Cape Town, I think is very different to the rest of the world. So, me having the experience of just, I mean, I was on my own and I was able to experience almost, I wouldn't say everything, but most things in Croatia. So I think just like the freedom of like just being able to kind of walk in the streets like late at night, that I just kind of one of the crazy because I mean I can promise you, I can tell you that's something we can't do back home. I mean I wouldn't say it's ghetto or where where we're from, but I mean it is kind of you gotta be checking your back. You know what I mean? You can't just be walking freely out in the streets. So that was kind of something that was kind of cool to experience. And I mean, not just the lifestyle, everything being completely different, you know what I mean? And then having to exchange, I mean, it's all like lifestyle of my background compared to where I'm currently staying. So I mean, my teammates, people I got to meet, I think I kind of made my opportunity to experience kind of very memorable was like getting that opportunity to experience like baseball and also like the country.
Mm.
Oh, and I think, yeah, you said something about language barriers. I think, yeah, that was the most tough. I mean, obviously, with my time in there, I managed to kind of, just learn a couple of words. But I mean, even in the team talk, it's kind of, baseball, we all speak the same language when it comes to the game. So even though the instruction is being given in a different language, kind of, what is set out to be done, you know what I mean, in the situation or in between innings, whatever the case may be. Like, it wasn't I mean, majority of the team was Croatian, so I kind of was only fear for the coach, or if it's representing the coach, they managed to kind of speak their own language. And for us as foreigners, it's kind of to figure it out. So that is, I mean, part of the experience, but it's pretty cool.
That's dope.
That's awesome to hear. That's awesome to hear.
How did you get the opportunity to go play in a Finkstonball?
So it just I say like the whole trip was like so crazy, like how things just happen. Give me a second. We played against a team called Vendia or Invendia, right? And there was two foreigners or two American foreigners over there, Adam and Cash. So
Yep.
I mean, when I showed up, and the team that I played for, that was told to me that I was one of the most recent first-time foreigners that they've had in many seasons. So my team rocking up at the home ground for day or for the Saturday fixture. They're like, wow, check this team. They finally have a foreigner, or they have foreigners. And you know what I mean? I mean, I'm sure I can say me being black, it was like kind of, whoa, they have a black dude from America, or immediately they would go to that. And I mean, I pitched the game, And afterwards, the two guys, Cash and Adam, came over to me. They're like, "Dude, where you from?" I'm like, "I'm from South Africa." They're like, "No ways. What do you mean South Africa? Do you play ball in Africa?" That was, their first kind of question. Like they were shocked. They were like, "What? We don't." And you, yeah, how did you get here? And, I mean, we had a little bit of a chat after the game, and they're like, "Dude, we have a tournament next week." And the funny thing about it is, we played double-header fixture against them. So the following week, which was Finkstonball, we were scheduled to play them again.
Okay.
But then they asked for a postponement or bye weekend for them to attend Finkstonball. So they're like, "Hey, dude, like, you can really ball out. You pitch very good against us, whatever the case may be." They're like, "Dude, you want to jump on our roster and head with us to Austria to participate in Finkstonball?" I'm like, "What is that?" Gave me a whole breakdown, like a friendship series with teams all over Europe, whatever the case may be. I'm like, "Dude, I don't know, dude." I'm like, "Here with my team. How does this thing work?" And like, "Dude, ask your coach. We have a bye weekend. You're gonna be free next weekend. If he's cool with it, we do what we need to do, and you jump on our roster." So I'm like, even before we left to head back home, I'm like, "Hey, coach, they just offered me an opportunity to head out with it to Finkstonball next week. Is that okay?" They're like, "Dude, it's almost like I was kind of freelance." And they're like, "If you have the opportunity, take it. We don't play next weekend, so we have a bye weekend. You'll probably just be chilling anyway." So I'm like, "Okay, what do we do next?" They're like, "Nah, nothing. We just add it to the roster. Just be here next week, jump on the bus, and we head out." So I mean, yeah, that's how it happened. That's how I ended up there.
Yeah, I had met Adams at the first Finkstonball that I was at, and we hit it off because, like, just like you said, just like, whoa, black people playing baseball in the middle of Europe. How'd you get here? So when that second Finkstonball that I went to was your first one, I seen you and Cash, and I was like, "Adams, where you get all these black people from?" And he was just like, "Yo, I met this dude last week. He from South Africa. Like, he real cool." And I think that was probably the most black people that have ever played in a Finkstonball ever. Yeah. Saw on the softball side too. We all took a group picture together. That's how I met Dean at Finkstonball with Adams and Cash. That was a great tournament.
Yeah,
Yo, I should have been there, man.
Their scheduling,
yeah.
Finkstonball. That's a different animal and the same beast as Kobe would say, bro. That tournament's wild. Hey, can I tell one Croatia story real quick with Finkstonball?
Yeah.
So, like Finkstonball, you can either camp out at the field, or you can be bougie and get a hotel, or you can stay in that the school down at the
school
hill,
gym,
like in the gymnasium.
Yeah.
We stayed in the school.
Yeah. So I ended up doing that too, but how I got there was a little interesting because I was hoping somebody would like let us into like the tents or something, but there was no room. There was another Japanese import with me, our boy Hokuto. We get down to the gymnasium at like 4 in the morning because we were just drinking the whole time, and we get there, all the mattresses are already taken, like it's first come first serve, and we're too drunk, so we're like, F it, we're just gonna sleep right here. And it's dark. We don't see anything. We're like, dude, it's only one night. We'll figure it out. We fell asleep in the half court, like where they do the tip off of like the basketball game on the basketball court. And we wake up in the morning and we're surrounded by these Croatians looking at us. What are these two Asians doing passed out in the middle of the basketball court? So then afterwards, like we explained the situation, like, yo, we got a little too drunk. We just needed a place to stay. And right after we said that, they're like, "Oh, you should have woken one of us up." Like they were like, "Yo, like we can share this night." Like they made sure we got arranged. But shout out to the Croatians, man. That was funny.
Shout out to the Croatians. We got 9 minutes left. I want to ask Dean about his national team experiences. So, like, when did you start playing for the national team, and what's that experience been like for you?
So my first international call-up was in 2016. We went to Australia, Sydney. Yeah, that was the first time, my first call-up and participating in World Cup qualifiers over there. Yeah, and ever since then, I mean, like I say, as I said earlier, so baseball it is kind of small in Africa with regards to the terms of us getting opportunity to represent our play on the national side and represent our nation. It really only comes around every 4 years when there is the World Baseball Classic qualifiers. And I think fortunate enough for us for the time since 2016 we got the invite, from World Baseball Classic, and I was fortunate enough to be up on the roster. So 2016 was my first call up. 2020 we were in Arizona, and obviously COVID hit us. We were there 5 days. I mean, I think that was also one of the bucket list, uh, uh, achievements. I'm like, finally, I'm going to America, where this game is, the biggest. Like, this is what we know. This is what we know baseball about. And we've been in Arizona. We were, I think it was the Diamondbacks spring training field where we were at. We were there for like 5 days, and like everybody needs to leave. COVID's here, like get out. So we were literally on the next flight out and back home.
Oh, wow.
And so it was a fun 5 days in Arizona. And then thereafter, obviously, the next one, it was kind of a continuation of that, I would say, or think, would like to say, because it happened 2 years later. It was 2022, but it was hosted in Germany. Yeah, it did pretty well there as well. And then, of course, the most recent one, which is now 2024, 2025 in Taipei. Yeah, so I mean, ever since 2016, I've been on the senior national side.
Wow, man. Dean, how old are you, man?
Yeah, I'm 33. He's 34 this year.
Okay, man. So you've been playing on the national team since you like 23, 24.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Dean, man. Thanks for hopping on the show with us. It's been a pleasure. You're always welcome back. Um, you got anything that you want to say to the import community?
No, I want to say thank you to you. Thank you for allowing me to hop on. And I mean, like I said, the internet is powerful. Like you said, I know me from Detroit, Japan, and South Africa, connected, talking about ball.
Yeah.
Always good to get an opportunity. Like, I mean, like, what you do, I mean, I see all your stuff. And I mean, the cool thing, I mean, I met your homie Kurt is down here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been pretty cool. So I've been training with him for quite. I mean, just talking, just talking ball, getting to know each other. So I think we're going to spend a lot of more time together this week, because I know it's his last week here, and it's obviously he's excited to watch I guess some senior. And it's kind of, I mean, I wouldn't say similar to Finkstonball, but tournament style where the different provinces, like I said, different provinces or regions come together and they participate for like the provincial national championship. So that's going to be pretty cool. But yeah, I'm going to say thank you to you. Thank you for the opportunity. And yeah, I think now more than ever, there's so much more opportunity for, people all around the world, especially for us, wouldn't say the unnoticed people, but for Africa, I think there's so much more opportunity now with our current, I wouldn't say current senior national roster, but like people all over getting the opportunity to now see that there's opportunities to play abroad, that it's not impossible. So, yeah, I think for me coming back, it was also kind of eye-opening for a lot of people, because I mean, like, I always go back on, like, it was overwhelming for me to get an opportunity for me kind of to earn a contract at the age of 31 You know what I mean? And there's so much more younger bowlers out here wanting these opportunities, like finishing school or either finishing university and wanting to go the next step. But at the same time, so wanted to have the opportunity to play ball. So, I mean, I kind of spoken to a lot of guys, getting opportunities like reach out to like the Oaks in Croatia, even yourself. I mean, fortunately, there was a couple of guys that woke up, I would say, woke up a little bit late for this season. I mean, the opportunity is there that hasn't been there before. So, I mean, from my side, I'm happy that I got the opportunity and I mean, if I don't get any opportunity like that again, just making the opportunity available for whoever's next or keen to take on that experience and journey.
Man, yeah, man. You're the plug now. You know, any
Yeah.
South Africans trying to play overseas, you got to hit up Dean.
and remember, same time zone. Same time zone.
If you work remotely, you're golden. All right, man. Thanks for hopping on the show with us. Oh, we got another guest. Who's that?
That's my son.
Hey. Well, thank you guys for joining us. I'm Troy Justice. That's Yodi Nakamura. Dean Jacobs, thank you again. I'm the Import, and this is Imported, the Athletes and Travel podcast. Thank you for joining us.